would be up waiting for you if you had to leave. I would wait a lifetime if you were at sea. I just wanna say that I feel that our love is real. Maybe we should hurry up and seal the deal. Take you there. I would give it all away to do it all again. Make our love a story that would never end. Never thought I'd feel so alive, looking in your eyes. I just wanna love you till the day I die. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better, 'cause I love take you there. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. Oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better, 'cause I love like.
Oh no, Lillian, I see you have rain coming 3 to 4 inches in your basement. Is maybe going to flood again? That's no good. We had rain for the first time this weekend, which is part of the reason that I broke my toes. It got so wet and we were all very happy because it's been parched.
Even though we got soaked.
Even though we got soaked. Yeah, we met up at the Sky Guys cross country race and we literally got soaked completely, 100%.
Yep.
But no one complained.
But no lightning strikes.
No lightning strikes. Although, yeah, that's another story. There was a big game that got canceled, the duck game, for all of you Oregon fans out there. Delayed. Yeah, I shouldn't say canceled. Yeah. My toes are okay. I took a tumble down a flight of stairs, so I'm pretty bumped and bruised. And it's good timing to have the professor here because he's making pasta for dinner tonight. And yeah, I'm in recovery mode. I'm taking care of myself. So you might not see a lot of me on social because I'm just going to lay low for the next few days. But we could not miss out on a Shakes Dad. What were your other options, Jamie? Shakes Dad? Dad Spear, a.k.a. the professor, is literally like in the house. He is in our house right now. There it is, Dad Spear or Shakes Dad. So,
good with either.
Yes. My dad is the inspiration for the professor, and I grew up with a lot of Shakespeare. So tonight I'm going to turn the tables. For those of you who have read the series, you know the professor all too well. You know that the professor at any moment in time might just break out in a verse or a sonnet, a soliloquy. Does this happen in real life?
Sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes.
Might it happen tonight?
It might. Well,
it could happen tonight.
Very soon.
While Shakes Dad is in the kitchen, he is often, quoting different poets.
Not always Shakespeare.
Not always Shakespeare. No, that's true. It's all of it. So I have questions for the professor that I have already come up with, but I know that you all might want some Shakespeare School tonight too. So if you have a question for the professor, aka Shakespeare's Dad Spear, put them in the comments with a Q or a question, and the tech guy will start the list going. Already, Karen wants to know what's on the tie.
Of course, it's a Shakespeare tie.
Of course.
So we have Hamlet, Henry V, As You Like It, Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm looking down, and that's about all I can make out of this.
But what did you say about your shirt? I did not dress up. I have like my Ashland hoodie on.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, actually, well, that's another story altogether.
Oh, is it? Okay, but
Well, it's from a company in London. I don't know how I got on their mailing address.
so
but
I'm not
I
making
did.
this up. You're on a list for a company in London. Yeah.
But I don't know.
And-
But I don't know if I've ever told you this story. Months, maybe a couple of years after I bought some shirts, and even though they come from London, they actually are fairly reasonable for dress shirts. Anyway, they sent what I assume was like a marketing letter to get me to buy more shirts. But after that, I used it in my writing classes as an example of what not to do for tone.
Oh no.
Knowing your audience.
Okay.
Because the letter started out something like, I like to think of you getting up in the morning and putting on my puppy something shirt and then going, putting on this and putting on something else. And it was so creepy.
Stalker.
Yeah. I guess they thought it was clever or whatever, but anyway, so I'm wearing the shirt anyway, but every time I put it on, I feel just,
Somebody's watching. They are watching right now.
yeah, it could be.
They could be.
Yeah,
They
could be.
definitely could be.
Could be one of these people. I'm going to go through the list carefully.
That's right. Who are you? Okay, well, without further ado, let's get to my questions for you first. So I don't know if I've ever asked you this either, but like, how did you get interested in Shakespeare? Like my entire life, I've only known you to quote the Bard.
When you asked me that earlier, it's...
You didn't answer earlier.
Yeah,
That's why
well,
told
I had to
let's
start, I
surprise
really had to think about
Yeah.
it because there isn't like a single event or teacher. But the more I got to thinking about it, in ninth grade, which was junior high when I was in school, we read Julius Caesar and probably some other Shakespeare play. And, I like the Beware the Ides of March and Et tu, Brute and all that. I just liked how those were part of the lexicon of the whole society. And somehow I knew the root of it. And actually, some of you out there are probably of an age when you remember that at tax time, it was always a big pun and a joke about beware the Ides of March, because that was when we used to have to file our taxes. So I've always been disappointed since that they moved it and we no longer have to beware the Ides of March. But at any rate, I'm wandering here, sorry.
That's good.
So I liked the language and I liked those phrases. And then I don't remember reading any more Shakespeare in high school. But when I was a senior, West Side Story came out, and it was a smash. It was the movie of the year, and that really brought, Romeo and Juliet to the forefront. But probably my interest really, really, really developed deeply in my junior year at University of Washington, because English majors had to take 2 Shakespeare courses. Okay. And I had a really great prof at the time. And we read the Henrys, Henry IV, 1 and 2 and 5. And I just fell in love with Falstaff and all the reprobates and all, and that kind of got me hooked.
There you have it. I didn't know any of this.
I had to stop to think about
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
Uh-huh. Shakespeare was definitely part of like the ethos of my childhood, because it is true that you and Mom had a Midsummer Night's Eve party, even complete with costumes,
It turned out pretty
the
well.
food, the whole thing.
And who were you?
I was Peasbottom.
Yes, you were.
Yes,
Yeah.
I loved that costume. My mom made it out of tulle, and it was a big party in the backyard. I think we might have some photos. Oh, I get to do the
We do?
photos. Oh, this
Oh.
was the invitation that I think, did you have a friend? Did Julie Romerty?
I think Julie Romerty did the calligraphy.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, we had a nice backyard with about a dozen really mature fir trees and a lawn out there, and we had some lots of Elizabethan style food, or as close as we,
As you could get. Uh-huh.
and then some games and music, and yeah, it was great fun.
Costumes.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I haven't seen that in years.
Isn't that great? Like,
The Lord of the Manor and the Lady.
and I think I have one more.
Oh, of course, of course.
So great. Well, we'll go back to that question after my photos. But I'm so curious, like, did you come up with that idea? Was Mom on board immediately? With like, hey, we're going to dress up this. Yeah.
You know, it's been a long time. I think she liked the idea from the start.
Uh-huh.
We had some other friends who a year or two earlier had a medieval style party
Okay.
with a medieval feast.
All right.
So I think that was the kind of genesis of the idea. And we had a great time there, so we thought, well, let's
do it
have another
ourselves.
great time
Uh-huh.
and be in charge.
I apologize if people, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the camera wants to focus on that brick right back there.
Oh, the tech guy's saying the camera wants to focus on a brick instead of on us, so it's getting fuzzy. I think it's because we have two people. We don't usually have two people in screen, but you know. So great. Yes, the kitty is on the tech guy's lap. She wants to be part of the live as well. You cannot leave her out. But yeah, so that is kind of part of, I think, my inspiration for writing the series initially is this is all, like, I think I was probably 6 for that party, 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I was little.
Yeah, you were very little.
So, you know, this is my point of my entire life. That was kind of the background.
Well, and you and your younger brother were kind of stars for all the adults, you know, because these two little kids in costume running around.
Right.
Cute, cute, cute.
Cute. Okay, but really, you taught Shakespeare as part of your. He was an English teacher in high school. And what did you enjoy most about teaching it?
Good question. Well, as all the way through my teaching, getting students really to hear the language and connect with the language was always an interesting and great challenge. And I think I really liked that almost as much as anything. But then also trying to, as best I could, to open up the play, you know. So we're reading about some Scot king or vassal from the 1400s. What's this got to do with me? And then the scene opens with the witches, you know, all hail Macbeth, Thane of Glamis, all hail Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor, all hail Macbeth, who shalt be king, etc. And they're, you know, the cauldron and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, if you can get students interested, then you can bring them along, I think, enough to start looking at the themes, you know. Well, you know, has anyone ever suggested something might happen to you in the future? Or maybe your parents have bought a lottery ticket and all of a sudden they start thinking of all of the things they might buy with the lottery ticket. And well, that's kind of what's happening with Macbeth. And then we kind of go from there.
I love that.
and let them see. And then I usually had the class read most of it and assign parts and get them to really
You made
think
me
about
do
it.
that too.
Of course.
I did not enjoy that as much in childhood, but I appreciate it now.
Well,
I owe that all to you.
I'm sure several students didn't enjoy it.
I know, but now in hindsight, we thank you.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's. Well, I'm going to tell the story anyway.
Oh, good.
So, especially shortly before I retired, awkwardly enough, a number of the 17 or 18-year-old girls thought it was appropriate to show a lot of cleavage. And I had this one young woman in class who usually showed a lot of cleavage, and I talked to the assistant principal. Could you say something to this girl? But it didn't happen. Yeah. So at any rate, so we're reading Macbeth, and just by coincidence, she's reading the scene where Lady Macbeth is just charged up and trying to get Macbeth to go in and kill Duncan, and I don't remember the exact phrase, but the phrase is something about if I were like you, if I didn't have the courage and I were nursing an infant, I'd rip the infant from my breast and dash its brains out. Just a horrible, awful image. And here she is with all this cleavage, and she can't say breast.
Oh no!
And I thought, what in the world? So you have to be. There were surprises too.
There were surprises. There you have it. How do you think reading the Bard's work compares with seeing it on the stage? Because that's kind of like the same thing. You have this imagery. If you're just reading it, do you think it connects, or do you have to see it?
Well, that's a mixed question. So for me, it's so much richer reading it. Well, and there isn't. I've searched quite a bit, and I haven't, in the last decade or two, found an edition that gives a gloss or any kind of help that's really effective. But there used to be an old Folger's edition, and it would have little degree marks, which would immediately give you the gloss for the line you're on, so you could move through it quickly, and you didn't get stymied by the phrases that we no longer know. But it's hard to do that these days, because the other option is to have something sort of translated into modern English, and then you lose the beauty of the language.
Right.
And but I think for the average person interested in Shakespeare, it's so much easier to see the production, especially a really professional production, because they know how to emphasize the language in such a way that they can keep the original language and make sense of it for almost everybody.
Very true. Yeah.
The kind of limit to that is watching it tends to be more plot driven, I think.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Yeah.
And since you only have 2 hours, the characters have to be developed like that.
You have to pop them.
Yeah. So seeing it, you're pulled forward with the plot. You get the characterization, and obviously you should get at least some of the themes, but the overall, you don't necessarily get just how skillfully and carefully we move from one step to another in the characters.
I love that. Basically what he's saying is, for those of us who would be the peasants in the cheap seats in the front,
the
groundlings, yeah, we see it, and then the smart ones read it, right? Yeah. Is that the gist?
I'll let you say it then.
Oh, see, he's saying
No,
it.
you
Yeah.
you would not be a groundling. The groundlings were the ones that, almost every Shakespeare play has a certain amount of really crude stuff for them. And some of you probably know that, for example, in the fight scenes during Shakespeare's time, actors actually wore bladders with either pig's bloods or lamb's blood. And in fight scenes, they'd puncture it and they'd squirt it out into, and the groundlings would, yeah, baby, yeah. So, yeah.
How many diseases were born?
But,
Yeah, the tech guy says, and how many diseases were born out of that?
right. Well, and as a matter of fact, a little known play that's hardly ever produced, one of his first plays, Titus Andronicus, is just like a slasher movie. I mean,
Really?
it's horrid. It is just absolutely horrid.
Ooh, I'm going to have to work that into a book, Jamie.
But as he matured, of course, he still plugs in stuff for the people in the pit. But really, the beauty of Shakespeare is he knows how to pull those people along, and then there's so much more that's so elevated that everyone can follow. And he's trying, he has to keep people who are a little skeptical and not caring about language and character very much, get them interested, and then
Hook 'em.
hook them.
Yeah.
Because he was a best-selling playwright.
Right.
So he made it work.
That's amazing. And now you all see, I don't really have to go far for my Shakespeare knowledge when I'm weaving it into the book. Can you not just imagine Juliet and the professor having a conversation like this? Talking about staging, I know that you've seen so many varieties of this productions over the years, hence why the Ashland series even exists. The first time I came to Ashland was because of Shakespeare, and I don't think I would have set the books here without that background. But what stagings stand out to you, or do you think it matters? Can it just be one person, two people, and?
Well, I don't know about that, but probably my favorite, at least here, was a production of Midsummer Night's Dream 7 or 8 years ago, which was spectacular because that play, there is so much that you can do visually.
Yeah.
And their production was just stunning. They had an old, they had an ancient VW bus that they, reconfigured for the stage, and the Forest of Arden was, I can't remember what, but I remember how visually stunning it was. And I imagine other people felt the same. So beyond that, I'm trying to think of any modern settings that I really liked. I'm kind of lukewarm usually about them, Macbeth with the AK-47s and that sort of stuff. Well, there's a point. It was military battles and all, but sometimes, for me, those productions emphasize more just being a contemporary setting without developing much beyond that. Trying to make it modern, and maybe not having enough confidence that the play itself resonates if you produce it right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I think that leads me to my question of what are your favorite plays? Do you have a favorite?
Well, since I mentioned it before, one of my favorites is the two Henry IV 1 and 2, because I just love Falstaff, and I also really like the way Hal, or the young prince, is portrayed, because in the first play especially, he's essentially a reprobate. He's a waster. He's probably, well, if it were a modern setting, he'd probably be a stoner, because he hangs around with Falstaff, who is such a huge, over-the-top character. And they're drinking and carousing with the women around the low-class bars. Falstaff, wants to go out and be a highway robber, and Hal goes along with it to a point. And then he, later he becomes the savior of his father by casting that off. And all the way,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, all the way through, everyone's comparing him to another young man his age called Hotspur, who is, as his name suggests, this military, I'm going to go crush people. But I like the fact that he ultimately, he has all this baggage, even though he becomes the leader at Agincourt in Henry V. We still remember, this guy has some, this guy has some baggage. I mean, he wasn't just hanging out. He was hanging out with some dudes that, later in the play, the famous, I've heard the chimes at midnight, and Falstaff and a couple of his old buddies are talking about, they were, drinking and carousing, and they heard the chimes at midnight when they were otherwise occupied with women friends, and so. But at the same point, characters like Falstaff have such substance. I mean, he's not just a drunk and somebody who tries to skirt all the laws. He's just so charming as well. And I also love the fact that so many of the lines, like discretion is the better part of valor, comes from Falstaff, who's using the phrase to cover his own cowardice.
Right.
So, if Shakespeare had put those words like in Henry's mouth after Agincourt, it might come out, seeming a little self-serving and pedantic, but it comes out of Falstaff, and we kind of laugh at it.
Yeah.
But then there's the substance of the quote.
Uh-huh.
He does the same thing with Polonius and Hamlet. We all know the phrase, to thine own self be true. It's like, people get it tattooed and, it's on the wall and all. Well, the irony is Polonius is this stuffed shirt politician who's never true to himself, but he's, instructing Laertes. Again, if some major figure was giving that advice, again, it might just kind of ring hollow a little bit. But when this character who's a stuffed shirt says it, well, we hear it and we think about it, but somehow it sticks better, I guess.
I love
which
that.
is kind of a genius thing to do.
It is a genius. Is everyone learning something new tonight? I didn't know that last one, so that's good. I see a lot of questions coming in. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'll get through mine. Let's see. What about sonnets? That's one of my, biggest memories of growing up, especially with you in the kitchen, that you'd be quoting sonnets. Do you have a favorite?
I do like Sonnet 18, probably almost everybody's favorite. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. This applies here. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah. And I also like, and I have even one from when I was really young, 73, that time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves, or few or none, do hang upon the trees, bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. I've always liked those lines. And so the comparison of the end of a year, and then the end of a day, and the end of a fire burning, which teaches us to love that well which we must leave ere long. Yeah, well, those are a couple I really like.
And again, don't you think the professor would be doing that? Susan says, Sonnet 18, part of it was written inside my parents' wedding rings.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. So sweet.
How romantic.
That is romantic. Cherry did learn something new. Okay. Lenny too. Gretchen. All right. I know. I told you it was going to be Shakespeare School. Come on. We got the professor in the house. I think this one's interesting. Like, do you think Shakespeare's work is still relevant? And if so, why? I mean, I know there have been so many modern adaptations.
I think so, for some of the reasons I just said.
Yeah.
And Well, let's see. And because he does mix in elements for all kinds of people, yeah, I think so. But then, I enjoy them, so my perspective is probably, unusual. But a play like Macbeth, like Hamlet, like The Winter's Tale. Well, for example, in Macbeth, the tragedy of this character who begins as such a noble person and allows himself to just be so degraded by the end of the play. And yet for me, there's a majesty to it. It's not just depressing. It's, at the end, it's thought-provoking for me.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of in the same way, one of my favorite plays is Oedipus Rex. And, I've read it a number of times, but it's not Shakespeare, of course, but every time I read it, it's kind of like thrilling to read, even though everyone knows the end and how it happens, but the way the language builds and the way the scenes develop, yeah.
And I always think about the whole idea of like, so many themes are still happening, in that like lens of history. So
right,
yeah.
Ambition and duplicity, and there's so many characters. Well, like in Henry V, Henry IV, it begins by his dad wanting to go to on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem because he's really kind of usurped the throne, and yet that's the lineage that we're supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah.
So, all the way through in so many of the plays. Well, even in the comedy, most of the comedies, like in The Tempest, Prospero and his young daughter, his brother sends him out in the ocean in a leaking boat. These are awful people. But then in the comedies, of course, at the end, oh, well, we didn't really mean it. Let's have a party.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Good. Okay, so this is a little bit for everybody. In Bake, Borrow, and Steal, which comes out in December, book 14 in the Bakeshop Mysteries, and we're gonna talk about this a lot in the next month or so. But there is a theme of Shakespeare that runs stronger in this one because it's based around Shakespeare's lost manuscript coming to Ashland. But as I was doing research for this book, I learned that there are so many theories out in the world right now as to who the real Will Shakes is. Do you buy into that? Do you follow it? Do you think it's all false?
It's never been a really compelling issue to me. It's mildly interesting.
But it's a mystery.
It is a mystery.
Who is it?
For a number of years, Concordia College in Portland, Oregon, which unfortunately closed recently, had an annual symposium. And they brought in people I know from all over the country. And I went to one or two, and I'm almost positive there were people there from England, scholars.
Wearing your shirt.
Yeah, probably so. And there were heated debates.
Yeah.
I mean, heated debates, kind of like, you want to take it outside and settle this thing? It just hasn't particularly grabbed me. And Ben Jonson's one of the possibles, but then Ben Jonson wrote a long poem in praise of Shakespeare. Of course, again, maybe he's covering his tracks, So, long story short, it's intriguing, but not something that I've spent a lot of time on.
But it is something I could use in a mystery because somebody might actually kill someone over the fact that they have the wrong theory.
If you had been to one of these symposia, you might well think, oh, that guy,
okay, you
got to watch out for.
Okay, yeah, good.
So
I'm gonna go to the next one when scholars attack. Yeah, Jamie.
You got it. You got it.
That's awesome.
There's an old saying, I can't remember it exactly, about English department meetings, and basically that the arguments are so intense and bitter because the issues at hand are so small.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, that ties in nicely to my next question, which is you used to edit all of my English papers until they were bloody.
No.
Is that correct? It's correct.
No.
It's correct. I would give you every essay, and I would think this is the most amazing essay I've ever written in my life, and then you would hand it back covered in red pen.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
Just an occasional suggestion.
Yeah.
And you were an outstanding writer from the start. Just encouraging you to be even better.
Right, which I so appreciate as an adult. But as a teenager, I don't think I had that depth of perspective, shall we say. So at one point in time, I cut you off from editing.
Oh, I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
And then I went to my first creative writing class in college. And I got my notes back from my instructor, you know, my professor, about like, oh, it's a great story and everything. And then it was all these notes. And I remember calling you and being like, no, you can break out the red pen again.
There you go.
Yeah.
See? Okay.
It's worth it. It's good.
Just being helpful.
Totally. Absolutely. Listen to that red pen. What is it? Yeah. Can confirm. Oh, Trisha just sat through an English department meeting today, so she can confirm that's
You
true.
You know.
What's really funny about the red pen too is because I think I must have just like been so awful as a teenager about it that when I first started writing mysteries, you were so generous and would read them all and give me feedback, which I absolutely crave as a writer now. But the first few, you kept just using light pencil, and I'd be like, no, I need to see the red. Actually, I want the red. I want the blood. And then this is my last question for the professor, and then we'll open it up because it sounds like we have a lot of questions from you all. But we're seeing this very mild-mannered professor, calm, right, on the outside. But I have to divulge that at least probably once a month, I get a call from you suggesting various ways that I could kill people off. Is this true?
True enough.
Yeah.
I very often think, that's possible murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll just
I like it a lot. Yeah.
hiking trails.
Yeah, I forgot about hiking trails. There's so many. I love to hike, and there's so many hiking trails that just are right near a precipice. It would be just so easy.
That's how it goes, you know, once you start. The one that I remember the most is you went to a concert at a church in Portland, and the whole time your message to me after you said, oh, the music was beautiful, but I just kept thinking about a chandelier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A giant chandelier,
Right.
yeah.
There were these huge wrought iron chandeliers, probably this big around and hanging from a chain, and I thought, you know, they've probably been up there 50 years. You know, somebody could get ideas.
Tamper. So I come by it naturally. The Shakespeare and the murder, apparently.
And the murder. Well, you've probably told them in the past about going to one of Luke's classes, and the last thing they said to you about what you do.
Yeah, right.
Have you mentioned that to
No,
them?
you can go ahead.
Well, I don't recall the phrase exactly.
Well, yeah, when I went into my son's class, I would talk about like being a writer and everything. And then they're like, and you kill people, right? Like, yeah.
For a living.
For a living. It's true. I do. Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty. I know we have so much. Now you're going to be on the hot seat because now, you know, we're going to school. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one from Sue. Are there any plays? I was going to ask this, so I'm glad you asked this, Sue. Are there any of Shakespeare's plays that you don't care for?
Well, Titus Andronicus, for sure. I'm not too crazy about the comedies where, you know, everyone's confused and A loves B, and C gets involved, and then A loves C, and all of that. I can take those or leave them.
Okay. Let's see. Jamie wants to know, if you could have dinner with any 5 Shakespeare characters, who would you invite?
Ooh.
That's a good one too.
Certainly Falstaff. We'd have to have capon and dry sack in the house. Who else would I want? Maybe Macduff. Macbeth's foil. Well, Hamlet. Let's talk about just how crazy you are. I know you're playing crazy, but what's really going on? Who else? Puck.
Puck. Oh, I love Puck. Yeah.
Puck and Falstaff in the same.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that would be good.
Yeah.
And I have to come up with one more.
Ooh.
Well, how about Hal? Henry IV.
Okay. Seems like a good dinner. What would we make?
Well, as Falstaff would want chicken, capon, and dry sack sherry. So
Easy.
sweet cakes and the ale to finish.
Done. Love it. Okay. Oh, there's so many. Trisha wants to know if you've been to the Globe in London and if you have a favorite character. Trisha is also a teacher, and her theory is you have to read the damn syllabus. Just read the syllabus. So you would be pals.
I like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, yes, I have, and had a wonderful time. And just as with here, to reinforce how fairly authentic the outdoor theater is here. They supply you a blanket when you get in because it's chilly at night, and of course it's right along the Thames, and not far from a replica of the Golden Hind, the Sir Walter Raleigh's ship. So there's all sorts of Elizabethan and that era memorabilia around there, and several really, really old taverns. So yeah, I had a great time.
That's awesome. Okay, let's see. Marcia wants to know, Marcy, is it not common to tell your family a new murder plot that's been rolling around in your mind? Oops.
It might be a little unusual.
Maybe not. Pam wants to know, what do you think of play on changing Shakespeare's words to more modern English?
I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. As I say, I love those old Folger editions because it was fairly easy to read and get the sense of the lines and keep moving forward. And the other thing is, the language is just so rich. For my master's degree, I spent a lot of time with medieval literature and language. And, by the time we get to Shakespeare, we have, Old English is morphed into Middle English. And then we have, the English and the French were basically co-ruled for lots of years. So, we have pig and pork and beef and cow and all those sorts of things that we can throw together to make things. And then the Norman and the Scandinavian and the Latin, and it all comes together as a real language with Shakespeare. And then he just invents stuff. So, yeah, the language.
You're a stickler for the language. Where do you stand on the controversy? Did he write his plays? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. The tech guy just wanted sound effects.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
It is definitely a mystery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it could be a woman. You never know. That comes up.
Well, there is one, yeah.
Yeah. Anna Louise wants to know, have you read the Star Wars Shakespeare books? And do you like them?
You do have some.
Yeah.
I do have one. Yeah, I've given it a shot. Yeah.
He had the tech guy and the kid have gotten him. I think you've gotten more than one, correct?
Yeah. They're well done.
Colleen wants to know, if mom enjoyed Shakespeare as much as you. I'm gonna say no.
Well, she didn't teach
Say
it.
no. Right.
That makes a big difference. As the teachers online now, I'm sure would agree. And there's an old saying that, especially for poems or works of literature, you don't really know them until you've taught them.
Mm-hmm.
So, to really appreciate and understand, having taught them makes a huge difference. But yeah,
she loved the plays and everything, but she would not be as versed. As you are.
But she did love mysteries.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, she had to keep large notebooks full of titles to remind herself the ones she's read so she didn't pick them up again.
True.
So you come by that, honestly.
Absolutely. Renee wants to know, have you or your dad ever seen Andy Griffith's interpretation of Romeo and Juliet? It was from an album he had done in the 1950s, but it was also a scene on Opie and Aunt Bee. No.
No.
Oh, you're going to have to find that.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds like a gem.
It's a serious question.
Okay. Oh, Lynn's really going to take you to school. Okay. Was the ghost in Hamlet an evil ghost leading Hamlet astray, or a ghost bringing forth the truth of the situation?
Well, there you go.
There's the rub.
Well, if I had to choose, I think he's making clear a situation. But he comes at night, and in Elizabethan time, good things don't happen at night.
Oh.
So quite likely there's a suggestion of malevolence.
That's true. Okay, let's see. Gretchen says, I love something rotten.
This way comes.
Yeah, what do you think of it?
It's been a while. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the pricking of my thumbs, something rotten this way comes.
That's a classic. Let's give you two more. Lenny wants to know, do people gift you with Shakespeare everything? Oh, that's a good question.
Yes, over the years.
Yeah.
Now I haven't taught for quite a few years, so less often than used to happen.
Jamie wants to know, have you ever named a pet after a Shakespeare character? I ask because I have a fish named Falstaff.
I love that. I hope it's a big fat fish. No, never do that.
No, it's not too late.
Well,
Okay, there's so many. Let's see. Lillian wants to know, what do you think of, we kind of talked about this, I guess, but I don't know if you've seen 10 Things I Hate About You, modern adaptations.
no, I haven't seen that one. I like some modern adaptations, but I haven't seen that particular one.
I loved it.
Okay.
There you go.
Kind of related, it's not Shakespearean. The Royal Shakespeare Theatre often records their live performances, and then a theater company in Portland will show them on the big screen later. And they recently did that with Cyrano de Bergerac. And most of it was in rap. And I thought later that, in one sense, Shakespeare would probably love that. I mean, he wrote so much in so much is in iambic pentameter and
Right.
often rhymed. But then the difference was the level of language and the continuing obscenities throughout the whole play doesn't quite fit the process of Shakespeare, who could also be really crude, but then elevate as the play progressed too.
So the balance.
Yeah, a balance, yeah.
Here's one. Okay, Stephanie wants to know, I've seen Hamlet on PBS. I've read the book a couple times. I have read somewhere that Hamlet was bipolar. I thought Hamlet's personality was unique, but maybe not bipolar. What do you think? Oh, that's another good one. I mean, it kind of, some of it matches.
I think there's a case you could make to that, because he's devious and what am I trying to say? Cunning and often his bouts of madness seem contrived, but sometimes you wonder. So
It's a good
could
theory.
be. That's an interesting theory. Well, and then madness and is Hamlet mad? Ophelia, is she mad? Or she's certainly suicidally depressed, and not in the least of which because of the treatment from Hamlet. And then Lady Macbeth, you know, she seems to go mad and then kills herself. And then that line that still rings true today, I can't recall it exactly off the top of my head, but Macbeth turning to the physician and saying, and who can root out the rooted sorrow? Well, we still have that today. Who, you know, somebody who's really, really depressed, you know, we still don't know how to root out that sorrow.
Right.
So, yeah, and Lear, I mean, so many characters that, you know, they're really on the edge of losing control, and many finally do. So,
Themes that still resonate again.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have time for one more. Cherry says, I feel like a lot of Shakespeare's plot lines and structures have been reused and copied over the years, even in TV sitcoms. Do you see elements of Shakespeare in modern works?
Yeah, and interesting, of course, Shakespeare got almost all of his plots from other people. Plutarch's Lives, Hollingshead's Chronicles, 2 or 3 other sources. The plots for a good number of plays are basically borrowed. So it just seems appropriate that we should be borrowing from Shakespeare too.
It's true. Oh boy. Okay. Well, you survived Shakespeare School.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't know what my grade will be.
Oh.
I survived the process.
Right. I don't know. They might have to vote. We might all have to vote as a group, right? So much pressure. Yeah, what would you grade tonight's? The tech guy says, what would you grade tonight's Shakespeare School? Oh, Trisha's giving you an A. Okay, all right. The grades are already coming in. But it's going to have to be an average, right? So, I don't know.
That's the tech guy. Leave it to the tech guy.
Oh, some A pluses.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, or you could flip it. No reading tonight, Michelle says. Yes. Oh, they're all A's. Oh, you did so well. I'm so glad you got to be here live so that we all get to see the inspiration for the professor in the real life. And as much as I joke, none of my books would exist without having you as a mentor and a dad and a background.
No.
So, yeah, love you. Oh, he has sound effects.
Oh,
I don't think you heard it. It's a little wait, the pop quiz. Marty wants to know. On that note, I am so glad that you all could be here again for another Tuesday. And next week we are going to do.
You might have to lean over because we didn't test this before.
Oh, we didn't test this, right? Oh, I'm gonna get really cozy, Dad. Next week is Tech Guy Kitchen. Then we're gonna have the Cure for What Ails You lunch party. Fall Cozy Reads and Drinks. I'm doing a bookstore event with some author friends on the 19th, and then we're gonna have a Halloween party. So hopefully we will see you all next week. The Tech Guy is gonna be in the kitchen. We're gonna do another one up here next week.
It's gonna get crazy. We're gonna have multiple cameras.
Oh, he's saying, I don't know if you're mic'd tonight, so we're gonna have multiple cameras. He says in his words it's gonna get crazy. So that's gonna be fun.
There could be some tech issues.
There could be some tech issues, but that's part of the fun for a Tech Guy Cooks Night. Thanks as always for joining me, and thanks, Dad, for being here.